And hello YouTube, this is Thomas Judge back once again with another episode of my weekly ongoing series, Valiant Till the Last, in which I read each and every single Valiant Deluxe edition in what I think is probably the best order, but for the first time. And as well as that, I'm also reading the entire Valiant universe, including the uncollected issues. So, with no further ado, today is one of those videos where I'm not actually looking at a deluxe edition because I'm looking at some issues that haven't been collected, or I should say, haven't been collected as yet. Because today I am looking at the most recent series of Exo Manowar, or the most recent series as at time of recording. So this is Exo Manowar, I guess the third volume or series of Exo Manowar since the 2012 reboot. The first one that we looked at was the 5 deluxe editions by Robert Venditti. Then over the last couple of weeks, we've also looked at the 2 deluxe editions collecting the series by Matt Kint. And now, for the first time, we are now going to look at the third series, which is a 9-issue maxi series written by Dennis Hopeless. Okay, what are my thoughts on this? Well, it was 9 issues long. It's available as 2 trade paperbacks, and it's basically just generally a little bit odd. As a series, for a start, it doesn't reference at all where the Matt Kint series ended, and as I said in the video last week, that ends with a nice bit of closure. Arik, who is in the Exo Manowar armor, is settling down with his new partner, sort of developing his own life, living his own life, has his own homestead, and so on. That's not referenced at all. I don't know where she's gone, his alien girlfriend. Don't know where she's disappeared to. Don't know why he's now living in the city as some random homeless dude. Don't really understand anything that's happened to start up this series. So that's weird. Is disconnected and isn't even really explained, which kind of feels a bit odd. In addition, tonally, this is quite different to previous stuff. So Arik behaves quite differently. He feels much more modernized, as if he's a much more contemporary hero. So although he is, I guess, to an extent, the fish out of water because he talks about being a Visigoth and he's kind of a homeless dude without any friends and social skills. At the same time, it's not as if he's as sort of anachronistic as he is on all the previous issues. That feels a bit weird. In addition, the whole thing with the armor is now a bit weird. Now, the armor started talking in the Matt Kint series, but the way the armor now behaves in this series is just weird. Like this sassy comedy sidekick side to the Exo Manowar armor is not something that I saw coming, and therefore this kind of buddy cop dynamic that the armor has with Arik, whilst it's funny, it's kind of odd and jarring. Um, Also, it appears to confirm in this 9-issue maxi series that the one origin story we saw in the original Robert Venditti run, which is a potential origin story of what the Exo Manowar is, it appears that is now canon. So, vague spoiler warning if you haven't read that from several videos ago. Basically, the idea is that there was this dying alien girl, and her dad makes this cure for her, and the cure basically turns her into the armor, and then therefore she becomes the very first Exo Manowar armor. So that girl appears to be the psychology or the personality behind what is now the Exo Manowar armor, and so that's the voice that's talking to him. Is this 10,000-year-old teenage alien? Which is weird. It also doesn't explain why any of the other armors in the Exo Manowar universe exist. And obviously, we know there are hundreds and hundreds of other armors, hence there are armor hunters and so on and so forth. So none of it really hangs together and makes sense. Um, in addition to that, nothing in this series has any wider connection to the wider Valiant universe. There's no mention of Ninjak, Unity, Harbingers, Divinity, any of that sort of stuff. This is just like its own weird thing, and as a result, it did make me feel like maybe this is a script that Dennis Hope has just had lying around for ages. Maybe it was like an Iron Man script, maybe it was an independent script, I don't know. And then it's a matter of just tweaking it and changing it and amending it to fit um, the spec of being an Exo Manowar story, because it doesn't feel like it was natively an Exo Manowar story, and it does feel, in a lot of ways, so isolated and cut off that it doesn't really necessarily slot into the Valiant universe anywhere near as well as all the other previous stories that we read have dovetailed in. All right. What else about this? It introduces a new antagonist slash ally, a guy called Whitaker, who's some kind of super mega genius we've never ever seen before. Frankly, he's a poor man's Toyo Harada, and it felt like he's only in this because Toyo Harada has had his story arc completed in the series Life and Death of Toyo Harada we talked about quite a while ago. So this Whitaker guy, yes, kind of interesting, but no, not very satisfying. Speaking of which, this guy then, this Whitaker guy, appears to easily hack and upgrade and change the software in Exo Manowar. Really, some random dude is smart enough that he can do this? Like, who is this guy meant to be? He's not Tony Stark. Toyo Harada was as smart as Tony Stark. This Whitaker guy is just some dude who never heard of before, who appears to be like ultra intelligent, really good at hacking, really good at coding, and he can randomly hack into and amend and change and manipulate the Exo Manowar armor. I found that strained credulity, and I say that in a story about a time traveling Visigoth with an alien suit of armor. This thing about Whitaker just being able to control and do things with Exo that no one else could do just felt implausible. Are you telling me that he can do stuff that Livewire couldn't do? Given that Livewire has the innate mutant ability to communicate with the armor. It just felt weird and sloppy, and again, more like a holdover from a previous script draft, which wasn't necessarily Valiant related. Finally, on that note, I've always said before, through all the EXO reviews that I've done, I don't quite get the armor. The armor always feels quite abstract and that it can do anything at any time if anyone needs it to. Well, in this series, it's even more abstract. For a start, previously, at least it's been established that when Eric's not wearing it, the armor floats around behind him in an orb shape. But in this, it doesn't float around anywhere in an orb shape. It doesn't appear to be visible anywhere. And yet, even though he's not wearing it, Arik can do things like at one point he sort of blasts off into the sky and flies off wearing his normal clothes, looking like he normally does, just with like blast things coming out of his shoes. So what are we saying? Is the armor now inside his body? Is it invisible? Is it nanotech like extremist Iron Man? Like it doesn't really make any sense. It's like, well, what's now happened to the armor? Firstly, why can it now do this where it never has before? Is another one of his random magical abilities. And secondly, like when did this change happen? When did it go from having to be a physical orb near him to suddenly being some invisible nanotech thing around him, I guess, or possibly just turning into magic? Again, the overall feel I had from this series, in summing up, is that it's not bad. I enjoyed it. It kind of made sense as a bit of an Arik story. It doesn't make sense as a Valiant story. It feels very much like Dennis Hopeless had a script lying around for Iron Man or something else, maybe. And then he got asked to do this, and he was like, "Oh, I can just pivot this script into largely covering the Exo Manowar bases." It's kind of fun. Um, it's one of those things. Would I want it as a deluxe edition? Yes, of course. If it came out as a deluxe edition, I would buy it because I'm like that. But am I annoyed that it's not a deluxe edition? Not really. I read this as two trade paperbacks. I'm not sure I'm going to keep them in my collection, to be honest. It's good. It's okay. It's not bad. It's definitely not bad. It's okay, but it feels like this isn't part of the wider Valiant universe. This feels as if it's almost an out of continuity story. Okay, well, with that out of the way, before we finish the video, I just wanted to show you guys where I've got to with the reading map for the Valiant universe. I appreciate this looks kind of zoomed out. I'm not really going to bother zooming in because there's not too much to talk about here. But what we can see on the left-hand side is we have Harbinger and Bloodshot and all the various Harbinger Bloodshot issues that we've discussed. And now on the right-hand side, we have that long, simple line of Exo Manowar related stuff. This is really straightforward. We've got Exo Manowar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The third one is Armor Hunters, and you can see that goes off to the side where it has the two blocks of Unity, Unity Deluxe Edition 1, and then the Deluxe Edition I'm having made, Deluxe Edition 2. We've got Dead Drop on the side, which was terrible and totally worth ignoring. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with Dead Drop. It feels a little bit like Bloodshot Rising Spirit. You can see lower down, like it exists, but I don't even know if it's part of the series. And I don't know, I'm still working out how I'm going to map this. And then you can see we go down into the two yellow branded Matt Kint volumes, Exo Manowar 1 and 2. And then at the bottom, we've got the series we were just talking about today. And I've got a picture there of the alien girl that becomes the Exo Manowar armor, just 'cause I thought it was quite a cool art bit that I found in one of the issues. Um, that's the map as it is now. I'm not sure if that final bit, that volume 3, really fits in and whether or not that should or should not be in this map or if it's out of continuity. But I just wanted to give you my thoughts. I wanted to show you how the map's coming along. I know it looks really rough and ready and kind of messy, but that's how these things are at this stage. And I just thought you guys might get a kick out of seeing where we are. All right, before I end, I just want to point out that there is one new Exo Manowar series that's about to come out. In theory, it's coming out at the end of 2022. At the time of filming this video, it's not out as yet. And that's called Exo Manowar Unconquered. I have no idea who it's by, I have no idea what it's about, I have no idea where it fits in. But that is next. So maybe if you guys are interested, I can do a top-up video on the series and add that into the mix. All right, there we have it, everybody. Those are my thoughts on Exo Manowar and all the Exo Manowar volumes that we have had so far. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on this particular series. Like I say, it's good, it's not great, and it doesn't feel like it really fits in with any of the rest just because of some tonal and writing differences that just seem a bit quirky and strange for the sake of it. Where to move to next? Well, next, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into Ninjak. Now, there's a few deluxe editions for Ninjak, and the first ongoing Ninjak series started in 2015. It has its own deluxe edition, Ninjak Volume 1, and I'll be reading that next time. So if you want to read along, please dig that out of your collection, read along, and we will talk about that next week. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. As always, please like, comment, subscribe. As always, please follow me on Twitter at I am Thomas Judge, where I will post a daily review of whatever comics I've been reading. You can get an idea of what I'm up to on the channel. And as always, please support the channel by heading over to Amazon.com and checking out my prose novel about superheroes. It's a completely original piece of work. The first episode in it is called Arrivals, and the series as a whole is called No Gods or Kings. You can find an excerpt of that on my website, nogodsorkings.com. Until next time, everybody, stay classy.